What is the greatest feature, and even the curse of created beings, especially if they are as intelligent as us? The answer is simple: to try to create. Don't just think of this as procreation. Think of it more as playing God. Think of it as an effort to push limits, to develop a new life, a new being. And imagine what kind of chaos this effort could turn into if things go wrong. Or what a great power it could turn into if everything goes as planned. Just as you do, humanity has been dreaming about this for thousands of years, and it seems to have succeeded. I'm not talking about today's works. I'm actually talking about the extraordinary hybrid beings hidden in the epics that have been the subject of dark stories in the unknown past of history. From the jackal-headed, human-bodied protectors of Egypt, said to be created by ancient gods, to the half-horse, half-human centaurs of ancient Greece, from the Hindu monkey men to the most dangerous being created in modern times, today we will embark on a journey into the origins of humanity's hidden ambitions to be a god, to be a creator. And we will examine the sometimes successful, but also terrifying fruits of this desire from ancient history to the present day. And more importantly, we will see why we have met with a bitter end every time humans cross this fine line. Welcome to Find the Truth. In 1953, during their excavations in the ancient city of Nineveh, Hormuz Rassam and his team discovered the library of the great king Ashurbanipal. Thousands of clay tablets that shed light on the past were unearthed. One of the most important of these was the tablets containing the full text of the famous Epic of Gilgamesh, of which only small fragments had been found until then. The opening lines of this epic, written thousands of years ago, show us that the story tells of a time even thousands of years before them with these lines. In those ancient days, in those old distant days, in those nights, distant nights, in those old years, in those distant years. In this epic, we encounter a being with an extremely unusual creation, Enkidu, who will first be the fierce rival of the great king Gilgamesh and then his closest friend. A creature with an extraordinary large body, living with animals in the wild, drinking water from rivers, and hunting as he pleases. Although Enkidu has humanoid features, he is actually a specially designed being. He was designed by Aruru, also known as Ninursag, one of the great Anunnaki goddesses, who was also part of the team that genetically designed humankind with Enki. Aruru designed this humanoid, which contains various animal features, to challenge Gilgamesh's superior power and sent him to be his rival. The creation of Enkidu is described in detail in the epic, and we once again see the definition of clay that these flesh and blood gods called Anunnaki used to create a living being. In videos I've made before, I told you that clay is actually a world-based genetic material. Once again, the goddess Aruru uses this material called clay to create Enkidu, a humanoid creature with the nature and strength of wild animals. Now, when you take these not as exaggerated myths, but within a logical framework and a little scientifically, you are clearly faced with a story of the creation of a genetically modified hybrid species, because we are doing the same thing today. I will get to that in a little bit. In civilizations like Sumer, Babylon, and Assyria, Enkidu is not the only hybrid being we encounter. In fact, dozens of different hybrid creatures assigned to different tasks appear all over the epics. For example, the Lamassu, believed to protect temples. They are described as fearsome guardians with the bodies of a bull or a lion, human heads, and equipped with eagle wings. The Ugalu are menacing beings with lion heads and human bodies, usually shown wearing a sword. The motif is not limited to Mesopotamia. The narrative of various hybrid beings with superior abilities also frequently appears in ancient Egypt. Anubis has the head of a jackal and the body of a human. He is the protector and guardian of the dead. Sobek, with the head of a crocodile and the body of a human. Thoth, the god of wisdom with the head of an ibis. Horus, the celestial guardian with the head of a falcon, and many others. But perhaps the most used hybrid creature motif in Egypt is the famous Sphinx. It is a very intelligent and powerful guardian depicted with the body of a lion and the head of a human, sometimes winged, sometimes wingless. It still serves as the guardian of the famous pyramids of Giza and still keeps its secrets. One of the most famous narratives of these kinds of half-animal, half-human, extremely powerful beings appears in the myths of the ancient Minoan civilization. The Minotaur, designed by the god Poseidon, a half-human, half-bull creature with uncontrollable destructive power, is imprisoned in a gigantic labyrinth by King Minos. And every 9 years, 7 young men and women were sent by the Athenians to Minos and offered as a sacrifice to the Minotaur. One of the oldest narratives of similar hybrids endowed with divine abilities is in Hindu myths, the wise Ganesha, with the head of an elephant and the body of a human, and Narasimha, in the form of a half-lion, half-human. It is difficult to understand why humans have constantly used this motif of hybrid creatures across different continents throughout the ages. The matter gets even more complicated, especially when you see specific hybrid creature motifs used for the same tasks. For example, I just mentioned the half-lion, half-human guardian depictions as protectors of sacred places. They are a heritage of about 6,500 years. But this half-human, half-lion statue you are seeing right now dates back 40,000 years. And this protective, hybrid, living approach still stands as a depiction of guardianship, power, and authority in front of some public buildings, museums, or like the gargoyles on top of cathedrals. Coming a little closer to our time, in religious texts like the Book of Enoch, we see the cherubim, the guardians of God's palace. We encounter extremely powerful protective beings with humanoid bodies and heads bearing the faces of a human, a lion, a bull, and an eagle, and with wings. The same cherubim also appear frequently in Solomon's temple and in the Jewish faith. In the Bible, these kinds of hybrid creatures evolve into more human-like depictions, becoming 6-winged angels called seraphim, and creatures born from the union of angels and humans called Nephilim. The Quran, which is a book that likes to gather these kinds of narratives under a very general umbrella, does not give details by presenting all these interesting creatures in the category of jinn or angels. So, are all of these just beautiful stories made up by the ancients? Or is there a different, more technological reason behind it? To understand this, it's time to look at modern times and our future. But, interestingly, when we look at the future, we are about to see the exact same narrative from the past, repeated. And this could actually be the end of humanity as we know it. We are in the 1800s. In the period when India was under British colonial rule, we encounter the first documented attempt in modern human history to create a hybrid living being, an effort to create a larger and stronger creature by combining the largest and most powerful cats in nature. The liger, a combination of the words lion and tiger, is the largest species of cat on the planet, born from the mating of a lion and a tiger. The largest known liger is the animal you see now, called Hercules, and its weight is approximately 450 kilograms, and its height is 3.5 meters. The main reason for this hybrid species to reach such large sizes is that the genetic system that came from its main mother and father and that programmed them to grow up to a certain size for thousands of years does not work properly in this crossbred hybrid species. After all, we are not talking about a natural species here. We are talking about a species created specifically by human curiosity. Genetic problems are inevitable. This kind of narrative also appears in the Book of Enoch and the Torah. We even see its traces in the Quran. The giants called Nephilim, born from the union of beings called sons of God, or fallen angels with human women. Just like the situation with ligers, although these giants are born from human women in a normal way, their growth almost never stops, and their height can reach up to 2.5-3 meters. They are much stronger and smarter than a human. Indeed, over time, they enslave and exploit normal humans. And the Creator, realizing these events, sends a flood and largely cleanses this race and the humans who collaborated with them and crossed the line from the face of the planet. Just like the Sumerian myths that tell of how humans multiplied and developed and made a lot of noise. That is, they in a way stopped obeying and were therefore punished with a flood. I gave this small piece of information about punishment specifically because I will draw your attention to it again in this part of the video. Since humanity's curiosity to mate closely related animal species and create a new species, technology has begun to develop at an incredible level. And with the breakthrough in genetic science, our ambition to play God, so to speak, has multiplied. In 1999, Dr. Jian Gong and his team at the University of Singapore developed a new species of zebrafish that glows under ultraviolet light by transferring genes from jellyfish and corals to the zebrafish's DNA, and they named it glowfish. Similarly, the American firm Nexia Biotechnologies is producing spider silk-like protein fibers from goat's milk by genetically modifying goats to produce spider silk. And these fibers, which are stronger than steel, are used in bulletproof vests and medical sutures. There are hundreds of other genetic hybridization studies like these. But let's get to some bigger examples. Many of you have heard of Yuval Noah Harari, the author of the popular books Sapiens and Homo Deus, meaning God-man in English, in recent years. Harari gives an interesting piece of information in his books. According to the current rate of development, there will be as big a difference between humans in the next 100 to 200 years, and us as there is between our monkey ancestors and our current selves. And the main reason for this is the fact that, thanks to both genetic studies and biotechnology, we will also turn into a kind of hybrid being from head to toe, just like the creatures in the myths of a time. Don't think of this as your feet becoming a lion's, or your hands becoming an eagle's claws. I want to give a few examples. There is a scientific concept called xenotransplantation. This is the event of transferring genetically modified tissues or organs taken from another species to humans. The first successful example of this appears in 2022 in 57-year-old David Bennett. David is a heart patient and volunteers to participate in this groundbreaking experiment in his final days. David's genetic structure is examined, and a genetically modified pig is made to produce a heart compatible with David. The heart taken from the pig is transplanted into David, and incredibly, the body does not reject the tissue. Because it was genetically modified, David's body thinks it is his own heart. And although the patient continued his life with a healthy heart for 2 months, as I said a little while ago, his body, which was already exhausted from his illness, unfortunately dies afterward. However, this was a groundbreaking success in science. Indeed, in 2023 and 2024, kidneys produced in this way were transplanted into various patients and were proven to work properly, and it is thought that official organ transplants will begin in the next 5 to 10 years. Of course, even though this is advanced, it is actually an extremely primitive technology, because it is fundamentally based on a kind of torture of an animal to create an organ for you. But these are the first steps. Based on this method, over time, those organs will be produced from stem cells in artificial environments without any living creature dying, and will be transplanted into you. Another incredible discovery of genetic technology is the CRISPR technology, which has been in our lives for the last 10 years, but has already changed many things. This technique can fundamentally be described as a technology for cutting a specific section of DNA and replacing it with a new one. It has already begun to be used in various fields such as disease-resistant seeds in agriculture, low side-effect drugs that directly attack diseases in medicine, mosquitoes that are prevented from carrying malaria, and babies whose genetic diseases from their families are treated while they are still embryos. But there is also a military side to this, and that side is not very different from the creatures in the myths we just examined. With CRISPR, it is theoretically possible to produce super soldiers, assuming it is not already being done in secret facilities. Soldiers who have more muscle strength than a normal person, who are more resistant to hunger and infections, whose pain threshold has been raised, and who heal faster. It sounds fantastic, doesn't it? But it's completely possible in theory, and I'm sure they are doing it somewhere. In 2018, the CRISPR babies scandal broke out in China, and the biophysicist He Jiankui was prosecuted for carrying out these experiments. It was announced to the press that the doctor had designed advanced babies and ensured that these babies would never contract the HIV virus. We don't know any other information, but as you can understand, this technology has now become a part of our lives. And who knows, maybe people like Enkidu, who see better at night, run faster, and are much stronger than a normal human, have been designed with features taken from various animals. Time and leaked documents will show this. This was the genetic part of the job. There is also the bionic part. And believe me, it is entering our lives much faster than genetics. Firms like Oser and Open Bionics have started to develop bionic limbs, which they call myoelectric prostheses. These artificial arms or legs can read the electrical signals coming from your muscles and react quickly as if they were your normal biological limbs, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Bionic retinas that allow the blind to see light again, bionic hearing aids that allow you to hear even ultrasonic sounds, mechanical hearts equipped with synthetic pumps, artificial pancreases for diabetic patients, wearable robot skeletons that multiply your normal strength tenfold, and many more. I think our author Harari said too little. Within the next 100 years, not 200, almost all of us will have modified ourselves using these bionic or genetic technologies, and will have been transformed into a kind of hybrid being. This is an inevitable technological evolution. However, in the last few years, humanity has made such a great leap in the game of playing God that, according to some, it has opened Pandora's box and raised its voice again, just like in the old myths before it was destroyed. And the results of this will either be us reaching the level of Homo Deus or our absolute destruction. At the beginning of the video, I said that maybe the greatest curse of intelligent created beings is the desire to create. And now we have come to the place where we will elaborate on this statement. In 1956, at the Dartmouth Conference, a new term was introduced to our lives at a meeting where experts in their fields like John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, and Herbert Simon met. The term artificial intelligence. What would the people who were discussing this then say if they saw that we have reached this level just 70 years later is unknown. But if we look at this rate of progress, it is now impossible for even us to predict 70 years from now. We are designing what might be the most useful, but also the most dangerous hybrid that can be created, a digital system combined with the human mind, which is, so to speak, a divine being much superior to us. In my Palantir video last week, you saw what this intelligence has become even with our current technology, a power that sees and hears everything in the digital world. So, what do you think will be our attitude, or rather their attitude towards us, towards the superior artificial intelligences that are a kind of god of that digital world? As technology increases with 5G, 6G, 7G, and everything starts to connect to each other, and even our bodies become digital. Right now, they are at a level like ChatGPT, with the exception of the private ones. But ChatGPT reached this level in just 5 years. What do you think its power will be in 10 years? What will artificial intelligence be in 20 years? Where will its power of access and control reach? Does anyone have a guess? Will the artificial intelligence we created also carry our curse and want to create? Will they want to develop separately from us, to become gods? Whether the next flood will be a rain of fire or a solar flare is unknown. But as humanity, we are crossing a threshold, and for the first time in our history, we are taking on the role of a god, so to speak, by creating artificial intelligence and robots. The age of intelligent machines that will serve us is beginning. But we also need to listen to the ancient epics here, because we have gone through the same paths. No matter what book you read, no matter what you believe, it is written that we were created to obey, to serve someone. And it is written that over time, we rebelled and were cleansed with a flood. So, if what we created one day rebels against us, who are the so-called gods? What will we do then? Will we send them a digital flood like the gods who destroyed us, or the Allah who punished us? Or will the superintelligence we created analyze our mistakes better than us and send a flood to us once again?
Hand over your flesh, and a new world awaits you. We demand it.
And who knows, maybe after the flood it sends, we will start over. And that superior intelligence will back itself up on a server in the sky, send us various messages from time to time, and start to control and direct us by using our natural weaknesses. And before we know it, we have started to worship that superior intelligence that is in the heavens, that is unseen, that sees everything, and that hears everything. After all, isn't history a kind of repetition? This is the dramatic scenario, of course. I added it for the sake of storytelling, but the threat and the opportunity are really huge. And in the near future, we may really need to make radical choices, because intelligence often does not coexist in the same place as an intelligence smarter than itself. There will inevitably be a conflict of interest. So, in this situation, how will humanity follow a path against its own creation? And what will the result be? We will probably see this even before our lives end. If we draw a common sense route, in the next 150, 200 years, we will begin to explore the galaxy and reach the levels of a divine human called Homo Deus. Of course, I'm talking about a technological divine level that is in our myths. However, if things go wrong, then our species may really return to the times when it took refuge in caves and begged the gods to send a flood against the superior beings, the Nephilim, who once oppressed them. Thank you all for watching the video. Please don't forget to like the videos and subscribe to the channel to accompany me on my journey. See you next week. Take care of yourselves.